Hey, welcome, and thanks for joining me again on my podcast. So, I wanted to try something a little bit different. I wanted to run a series, and I'm going to call the series Why You're Not Getting Interviews in New Zealand. Okay, and I'm going to run a couple of podcasts over the next couple of weeks on this topic. It's really to try and share a little bit around a lot of the questions that I've been getting from people on my socials, in my community, just asking why are they struggling to get interviews? Why are they struggling to get jobs here in New Zealand? So I thought I'll tackle one of the questions each week in my podcast and just try and give you a little bit of context and try and answer that why a little bit so you can try and get a little more of an understanding and maybe get answers to these questions. I'm not going to dive into the how, and it's not another checklist. That's not what I'm trying to do. It's really more just to try and answer that why question, really sounding a little bit like Simon Sinek here. But I think that's important so people have got a bit of context so they can really understand. So starting with today, what I wanted to do is tackle the first question, which was, why am I not getting interviews in New Zealand? And I thought, geez, why are people not actually getting interviews? And it made me think back a little bit. So I'm going to share with you first a little bit of my own experience. So I've been in New Zealand now for 3.5 years. And when we first wanted to immigrate to New Zealand, I've told my story on my podcast before of how our journey started off with us actually going to England. But then my wife, and you can go listen to the other podcasts, changed her mind and decided we wanted to come to New Zealand. And I told her, well, then, love, you need to find me a job. And she did. And it really made me think, well, how did she go about that? And I know we joke about it in the podcast and everything like that, and in telling the story of our journey. But actually, my wife is the brains behind all of this. She found the answers. She actually pointed me down the right direction and showed me where to go to start actually figuring out how to overcome this issue, which is getting interviews. So if I think back to it, she was the one that went online. She was the one that made the connections. She's the one that opened up the doors and the opportunities for jobs for us when we were still back in South Africa and got us those interviews with people before we left. And it's from her that I've learned. And if I think back, when we even went through all of that, got our job and started here in New Zealand, my first job, I was probably about 9 months in, and they decided that they were going to go through a restructure. I've since learned restructures happen quite often here in New Zealand. So they're becoming second hat now. But after being here for 9 months and after having the rough start what we did, so you could listen to our podcast and hear the rough start, to be 9 months in the country, being only on one salary, so I was the primary earner at that stage. Amy hadn't started working yet. And then to hear that they're potentially going to go through this restructure, and I didn't know whether I would have a job. And it creates a bit of panic. You start worrying. You think, geez, we've cashed in everything to move across to this country. We've gone through so much to get to where we are now. And for them to turn around and say that they're going to do a potential restructure, which means I may lose my job. I can't afford to lose my job. I don't have savings. I don't have anything left to be able to support my family. I don't even have my wife to fall back on because she's not working yet. So there was a lot on your shoulders to make sure that you're earning. So it made you spin a little bit. Well, it made me spin a little bit. It made me realize I needed to get back onto the job market and start hunting before the restructure because I didn't want to be on the back foot. I wanted to get out there. And I remember in that panic state, I first started applying for positions, and I was putting my CV out there. I was pumping my CV out there and applying for positions. But I was either just getting no responses or just getting those generic rejection emails. Sorry, we haven't considered you. We'll keep you on record, blah, 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 blah. And that's how it would go. And it just made me go more and more down the rabbit hole where I was just getting more and more depressed because I was like, what is wrong with me? Why can I not get a job? What if I can't get another job? Why are my skills not sought after? Back in South Africa, I had worked for 20 years. I had experience. I had networks. I had connections. I was known in my industry. I was doing well. And obviously I moved across here because of a whole lot of other reasons for my family and everything, which is great. But geez, if I couldn't get a job or secure a job or keep employed, there was no ways I was going to be able to make this work. And it was a lot of pressure on my shoulders. And it really started making me panic. And then it started making me realize, why am I not getting those interviews? If you start thinking about it, there was the way I was approaching it, the way I was thinking more and more applications and more of doing the same thing would work, well, that's madness. I think it was Einstein that said, you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's madness. So doing more of the wrong thing just got more of the wrong result. So it's just realized, no, that ain't going to work. And I started realizing the way it works here is it's the same as it was back in South Africa. It's just I hadn't adapted to a couple of things. I hadn't made sure that I understood what certain roles were called here. I hadn't updated my CV in a certain way. And I know people talk about a New Zealand CV. It's not a New Zealand CV. It's just the wording and the terminology and the structure and everything like that. It's slightly different, same but different. But once you've got it, you've got it. You know, you just need to know that. It was treating my cover letters as a sales pitch and actually reading the job applications, understanding the job applications and going about in a way to highlight myself and make me stand out and make people want to meet with me. It was about having to rebuild those connections because, you know, I had those connections for 20 years of working in South Africa. Now I'm starting all over again. I don't have those relationships and those connections. So it's how do you go about rebuilding those connections here in New Zealand? So I really had to rethink a lot of that. It wasn't that I didn't have the experience. It wasn't that I'm not good at what I do and that I wasn't employable. It's that I was going about it the wrong way. I hadn't adjusted my interview process to the way it needed to align with New Zealand. That's all. And when you finally got your mind around that and your head around that and realized what are the little things you needed to change and what were the little things that were wrong, I figured out how to address that. And to my surprise, it actually made the job hunt easier because I didn't have to, it was more of a targeted approach. It wasn't a shotgun approach. And by doing those small little tweaks and differences, I actually started getting responses, which was awesome. So why am I telling you all this? One, just to encourage you that it is tough. And you're not unique if you're getting those rejections and you're just not getting those interviews. I know it's one of the hardest things for us as immigrants, okay? But it is possible. But sometimes you just need a little bit of support and you just need to know what those few little things are that you need to change so that, you know, you can stand out, that they would want to meet with you, that you do start building those connections. And it's how to go about building those connections. So it's just those little things that you need to change. And once you've changed those, you can make it work. And it's not that you're not employable. It's not that you don't have the skill. Oh, well, of course, you've got to have the experience in your field and you've got to have the certifications and the experience, etc. That goes without saying. But it's not that your current country's experience and years of experience and certifications and everything like that don't count. They do. You know, don't doubt yourself. You really can make this work. It's just to really figure out how to do the actual interview process and how to job hunt is kind of what you need to learn how to do. And once you've learned that, you can make it work here, even in a tough market. If you've got the right skills and the right approach, you will stand out and you do have a higher chance of getting those interviews versus somebody else that doesn't have this proper plan and approach to interviewing, especially other immigrants that you're up against. So I just wanted to share that a little bit and say, you know, when you've got that question of why am I not getting interviews, there is a reason. There is little small changes that you need to do. And it's generally because you're not known. They don't know you. It's generally that maybe just the way you've structured your CV, your cover letters, is just not quite in line on what they're looking for. So there's a few little changes that you need to make just to be able to stand out. I'm just trying to tell you and encourage you that you can get a job out there. And if you need that extra support and you need to know how to go about doing this, and what I learned from what my wife started showing me and what I've now put into practice and perfected over the last 3.5 years of being here, then come join our community. I've put together a job search masterclass on how to go about finding jobs here, how to get those interviews. So to really try and help immigrants like myself be able to do better than I did, learn from me so you can actually get jobs. If this sounds like something you would benefit from, join us in the masterclass. Click on the link in the description. I'd love to have you join in our masterclass, and let me support you and help you and give you a plan on how to go about finding a job. And not necessarily only finding a job, but actually first goal is actually getting that interview. Let me go about helping you do that. And my course is not about doing audits on your LinkedIn profiles, your Seek profiles, and doing audits or reviews of your CVs and cover letters. No, that's not what it's about. I need to empower you, teach you, show you what I've learned, impart that knowledge, so you are empowered to go out there and get your interviews and get your jobs. So that's really what my job search masterclass is about. So if you want to join, please come join us in the job search masterclass. If you're not, that's fine too. Just know that at least have peace of mind. You're not alone out there when you're not getting interviews. It's not that there's something wrong with your skill and your experience. Well, generally not. If you were able to do it and doing it well in your home country, I'm sure you can do it well here in New Zealand as well. It's just the way you're going about tackling the job search and the job hunting. That needs to change a little bit. And then you'll be able to do it for sure. So with that, I will end it there. Thanks for listening. Great to have you on my podcast again. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. See you then. Cheers.